Whether you're a beginner, a home cook, or a culinary student, this video is your complete guide to essential kitchen and cooking terms, explained clearly and simply to boost your skills and confidence in the kitchen.
Time management and meal prep language. I cracked the eggs into the mixing bowl and whisked them until frothy. Means I broke the eggs into a bowl and beat them until they looked bubbly. She sautéed the garlic in olive oil over a non-stick skillet. In simple terms, she gently cooked the garlic in olive oil using a non-stick pan. He simmered the sauce on low heat in a stainless steel saucepan. In simple terms, he slowly cooked the sauce on low heat in a metal pot. They marinated the chicken overnight in a glass container. In simple terms, they soaked the chicken in a mixture of spices and liquids in a glass container and left it overnight. I chopped the onions finely, using a chef's knife on the wooden cutting board. In simple terms, I cut the onions into very small pieces with a sharp kitchen knife on a wooden board. She diced the bell peppers and tossed them into the frying pan. Means she cut the bell peppers into small square pieces and put them into the frying pan. He folded the batter gently with a rubber spatula. In simple terms, he carefully mixed the batter using a soft spatula so it wouldn't lose its air. I blended the soup until smooth using a hand blender. In simple terms, I used a hand blender to mix the soup until it was completely smooth. She boiled the pasta in a deep stock pot with salted water. Means she cooked the pasta in a big pot filled with salty water. He roasted the vegetables in the convection oven at 200 degrees Celsius. Roasting means cooking food with dry heat in an oven, and a convection oven uses a fan to spread the heat evenly. I kneaded the dough on the counter, dusted with flour. In simple terms, I pressed and rolled the dough with my hands on a flour-covered counter. She pureed the tomatoes in the food processor. Or, she crushed the tomatoes into a smooth paste using a food processor. He seared the steak on a cast-iron grill pan. Means he quickly browned the outside of the steak in a heavy grill pan to lock in the flavor. She broiled the fish on the top rack of the oven. Broiling means using only the top heat of the oven to cook food quickly at a high temperature. And rack of the oven means the metal shelf inside the oven where you place food to cook or bake. So the top rack is the highest shelf in the oven, closest to the top heat source. I strained the pasta using a metal colander. In simple terms, I poured the pasta into a metal strainer to remove the water. He melted the butter in a small saucepan. She rolled the dough with a wooden rolling pin. I toasted the bread in the pop-up toaster. He microwaved the leftovers in a ceramic dish. A ceramic bowl is a hard bowl made from baked clay, safe for heating food. She shredded the cheese with a box grater. Means she rubbed the cheese against a box-shaped tool to make thin pieces. I peeled the potatoes using a swivel peeler. Means I removed the potato skins with a handheld peeling tool that swivels. Swivels means turns or rotates smoothly in place. So, a swivel peeler is a peeler with a blade that moves or turns slightly to follow the shape of the vegetable easily. She mashed the boiled potatoes with a potato masher. Mashing means pressing boiled potatoes to make them soft and smooth. She sliced the cucumber into thin rounds. I zested the lemon using a fine grater. In simple terms, I scraped off the thin outer skin of the lemon using a small grater. He skewered the meat onto metal sticks for grilling. In simple terms, he pushed pieces of meat onto metal sticks to cook them on a grill. In general, skewered means to pierce something with a long, thin object, like a stick or spear, usually to hold or cook it. I pre-washed the vegetables and stored them in containers. In simple terms, I washed the vegetables before cooking and put them into containers. She set a timer for each baking tray to avoid overcooking. Means she used a timer for each tray so the food wouldn't bake too long. I peeled and chopped all onions needed for the week. He used a slow cooker to have dinner ready by evening. In simple terms, he cooked food in a special pot that cooks slowly, so dinner is ready by evening. A slow cooker is a kitchen pot that cooks food very slowly over many hours, so you don't have to watch it. I pre-soaked the lentils for quicker cooking. Means I soaked the lentils in water before cooking so they would cook faster. Lentils are small, round seeds, like tiny beans, that are cooked and eaten in soups, stews, or curries. She double-cooked the rice and kept half in the fridge. Double-cooked means the food was cooked 2 times. First fully, then cooked again, like frying, baking, or reheating, to change the taste or texture. I made a prep list and followed it step by step. Or I wrote down what to do before cooking and followed each step one by one. A prep list is a list of tasks you need to do before cooking, like cutting vegetables or measuring ingredients. She cooked in bulk and stored it in stackable containers. Stackable containers are boxes made to fit neatly on top of one another. He toasted the nuts in advance for garnish. In simple terms, he browned the nuts earlier to use them as a topping. Toasted means lightly heated until brown. And garnish means food used to decorate or add flavor on top. I froze smoothie packs for quick breakfasts. In simple terms, I kept smoothie ingredients in the freezer ahead of time so I could make breakfast fast. A smoothie is a cold, thick drink made by blending fruits, vegetables, and sometimes yogurt or milk. She washed and dried the herbs for easy access. Herbs are fresh leaves from plants used to add flavor to food like basil, parsley, or mint. He organized tasks by time: boil, bake, chop. In simple terms, he planned what to do and when, first boiling, then baking, then chopping. I delegated chopping duties to save time. Means I asked someone else to do the chopping so cooking would be faster. Delegated means giving a task to someone else to do. Spices and ingredient usage. I seasoned the soup with ground pepper and sea salt. Seasoned means added spices or salt to improve the taste. He drizzled honey on top of the yogurt. Drizzled means to pour a small amount in a thin stream. I crushed dried oregano between my palms before adding it to the sauce. In simple terms, I rubbed dried oregano between my hands to break it into smaller pieces before putting it in the sauce. Oregano is a dried herb used to add flavor, especially in Italian food. He minced fresh parsley and stirred it into the dressing. Means he chopped the fresh parsley into tiny pieces and mixed it into the dressing. Minced means cut into very tiny pieces, even smaller than chopped or diced. It's often used for herbs, garlic, or onions when you want them to almost disappear into the dish. And dressing is a flavorful liquid or sauce, usually made with oil, vinegar, herbs, and spices, used to add taste to salads or vegetables. I rubbed rosemary onto the lamb before roasting. In simple terms, I gently pressed rosemary onto the lamb to add flavor before cooking it in the oven. Rosemary is a fragrant green herb, like a plant, used to flavor food, especially meats and potatoes. She added bay leaves to the simmering broth, or she put bay leaves into the gently boiling broth for flavor. Broth is a light, flavored liquid made by boiling meat, vegetables, or bones, often used in soups. He used a spice grinder to grind whole cumin seeds. Means he used a small machine to crush whole cumin seeds into powder. Grinding means crushing something into powder or tiny pieces, and the machine used for this is called a grinder. I stored dried herbs in airtight jars to preserve flavor. She sautéed onions and garlic as the flavor base. In simple terms, she lightly cooked onions and garlic in oil to start the dish and add flavor. A flavor base means the first ingredients, like onions and garlic, that are cooked to build the main taste of a dish. I added a knob of ginger to the stew. In simple terms, I added a small chunk of ginger to the stew. A knob of ginger means a short, thick piece, like a thumb-sized portion. He smashed garlic cloves before tossing them in. Means he crushed the garlic slightly before adding it. Tossing means gently mixing or throwing food lightly, usually in a pan or bowl. She grated fresh turmeric into the curry, or she shredded fresh turmeric into the curry using a grater. I chopped green chilies and mixed them into the batter. In simple terms, I cut green chilies into small pieces and stirred them into the batter. He de-seeded the red chilies to reduce heat. In simple terms, he removed the seeds from the red chilies to make them less spicy. She stirred chili flakes into the sauce for a spicy kick. Means she mixed crushed chili pieces into the sauce to make it spicy. She added soy sauce for a salty umami note. Umami means a deep, savory flavor, like the taste of cooked meat or broth. So, in simple terms, she poured in soy sauce to make the food taste salty and rich. He stirred miso paste into the broth for depth. Miso paste means a thick, salty paste made from fermented soybeans, and depth means a strong, full flavor. So, in simple terms, he mixed miso paste into the soup to make it taste richer. I squeezed lime juice over the salad. I pressed a lime to get its juice and poured it on the salad. She drizzled balsamic vinegar over the tomatoes. Balsamic vinegar means a dark, sweet, and tangy vinegar made from grapes. And drizzled means poured a small amount in a thin stream. He added a splash of fish sauce for richness. Splash means a little bit of liquid added, so splash is faster and less neat. Drizzle is slow and neat. I mixed mustard into the marinade. She stirred in cornstarch to thicken the sauce. Cornstarch means a fine white powder used to thicken liquids. I added a tablespoon of baking soda to the batter. Baking soda means a white powder that helps baked goods rise and become fluffy. Tablespoon means a large spoon used to measure ingredients. A tablespoon is bigger than a teaspoon. Because tablespoon is used for bigger amounts, teaspoon for smaller amounts in cooking. In fact, a tablespoon holds about 3 times more than a teaspoon. He sifted cocoa powder into the brownie mix. In simple terms, he shook cocoa powder through a fine net to break lumps before mixing it into the brownie batter. She added breadcrumbs to bind the meatballs. Bind means to stick ingredients together. I stirred rolled oats into the cookie dough. Rolled oats means flat, dry oats used in baking or breakfast. He browned the butter before adding it to the mix. Browned butter means butter that's been cooked until it turns brown and gets a rich, nutty flavor. She brushed melted ghee over the naan. I greased the skillet with avocado oil. Greased means lightly coated with oil or fat, and skillet means a flat frying pan. He added a pat of butter on top for flavor. Pat of butter means a small, flat piece of butter. I added vanilla extract to enhance the cake's aroma. Vanilla extract means a liquid made from vanilla beans, used for flavor and smell. And aroma means the smell of food. She zested an orange into the batter. Zested means removed the colored outer layer of the fruit's skin. He sweetened the smoothie with maple syrup. Maple syrup is made by boiling the sap, or juice, of the maple tree until it becomes thick and sweet. She stirred molasses into the gingerbread dough. Molasses means a thick, dark syrup made from sugar. And gingerbread dough means the thick mix used to make gingerbread cookies or cake. I added a pinch of saffron threads to the rice. Pinch means a tiny bit you can hold between your fingers. And saffron threads means thin, red strands from a flower used to flavor and color food. She measured out a cup of granulated sugar. Granulated sugar means regular white sugar made of tiny crystals. And measure out means take the exact amount needed. He scooped brown sugar and packed it firmly, means he took brown sugar with a spoon and pressed it down tightly. She used a heaping tablespoon of cocoa. Heaping tablespoon means a spoonful that's piled up higher than the spoon's edge. I dusted powdered sugar over the brownies. Powdered sugar means sugar ground into a soft, powdery form. And dusted means lightly covered by sprinkling small amounts. She added a dash of paprika to enhance the flavor. Dash means a very small amount, and paprika means a red powder made from dried peppers, used for color and mild flavor. He poured olive oil into the measuring cup. She stirred the curry powder into the hot broth. Curry powder means a mix of spices used to add flavor. I spooned the tomato paste out of the jar. Spoon out means to take something out using a spoon. She scooped the ice cream using a spring-loaded scooper. Spring-loaded scooper means a tool with a button or handle that helps push the ice cream out. Scooped means took out a round portion using this tool. He measured the flour using a digital kitchen scale. Digital kitchen scale means an electronic tool that shows the weight of food. I poured milk until it reached the 250 milliliter line. Means I added milk until it matched the 250 milliliter mark on the measuring cup. I plated the dish with precision and garnished it with parsley. In simple terms, I carefully arranged the food on the plate and added parsley on top to make it look nice. Precision means with care and accuracy, and garnished means added something on top for decoration or flavor. She ladled the soup into ceramic bowls. Ladled means served liquid using a deep, round spoon. And ceramic bowls means bowls made from baked clay. He served the rice using a rice paddle. Rice paddle means a wide, flat spoon used to scoop and serve rice. And served means gave the food to eat. I transferred the leftovers into airtight containers. She covered the dish with aluminum foil to keep it warm. Aluminum foil means a thin, shiny metal sheet used to cover food to keep it warm. He wrapped the sandwich in cling film for later. Cling film means thin, clear plastic that sticks to food to keep it fresh. I poured the smoothie into a tall glass and added a straw. She stored the herbs in the fridge using Ziploc bags. He labeled each container with masking tape and a marker. He stored the jars in a cool, dark pantry. Pantry means a small room or cupboard for storing food. I organized the spices in a rotating spice rack. Rotating spice rack means a spinning stand that holds spice jars. Cold storage and refrigerator phrases. I wrapped the leftover curry in foil before placing it on the middle shelf. She arranged the dairy products in the coldest section of the fridge. He cleaned out the freezer once a month to prevent ice buildup. I transferred the raw fish into a sealed container to avoid cross-contamination. Cross-contamination means when bacteria from raw food spread to other food. She placed a bowl of baking soda in the fridge to absorb odors. He stacked the frozen meals neatly to maximize space. Stacked means put one on top of another. I set the fridge to 4 degrees Celsius to keep everything fresh. She double-checked the vegetable drawer before shopping. I thawed the chicken in the fridge overnight. Thawed means let something frozen become soft again. She moved the older items to the front so they'd be used first. He noticed freezer burn on the meat and decided to discard it. Freezer burn means dry patches that form on frozen food when it's not stored properly. I labeled the soup with the date before freezing. She checked the expiry dates of items stored in the fridge. He wiped the fridge shelves with a vinegar solution weekly. Kitchen measurements and conversions. I used a kitchen scale to measure exactly 150 grams of flour. She noted that 1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons. He measured out 250 milliliters of water using a measuring cup. I used a digital scale to weigh the cheese. He converted Fahrenheit to Celsius for the oven settings. I adjusted the ingredient quantities to serve just 2 people. He marked the measurement levels on the storage jar. I added a pinch of salt using my fingers. She compared dry versus liquid measuring cups. He leveled off the baking powder using a butter knife. Leveled off means made the top flat and even. And butter knife means a dull knife used for spreading, not cutting. I used a syringe to measure small amounts of vanilla. She used a scale with a tare function to reset weight. Tare function means a button on the scale that removes the weight of the container. And reset weight means start from 0 so you only measure the food. He referred to a conversion chart stuck on the fridge. Conversion chart means a guide that helps you switch between units, like cups to grams. She looked up grams to ounces online. Looked up means searched for information. He adjusted for altitude when baking. In simple terms, he changed the recipe a little because he was baking at a high place. Adjusted for altitude means made small changes in baking, like time, temperature, or ingredients, because high places can affect how things cook. Cleaning and organization. I scrubbed the cast iron pan with a bristle brush. In simple terms, I cleaned the heavy black metal pan by rubbing it with a stiff brush. She rinsed the dishes in the double sink. Double sink means a sink with 2 connected sections. He loaded the dishwasher with greasy plates and cups. I wiped down the countertop with a microfiber cloth. Means I cleaned the kitchen counter using a soft cleaning cloth. She sanitized the cutting board after slicing raw meat. Sanitized means cleaned to remove bacteria. He dried the utensils using a dish towel. I emptied the trash bin and replaced the liner. She vacuumed the kitchen rug near the stove. Kitchen rug means a small carpet placed on the kitchen floor. He descaled the electric kettle with vinegar. Descaled means removed hard white deposits from water. And electric kettle means a pot that heats water using electricity. I polished the stainless steel appliances with a soft cloth. Polished means rubbed to make smooth and shiny.
Kitchen tools and phrases.
I flipped the pancake using a silicone spatula. A silicone spatula means a heat-safe, bendy tool used for lifting or turning food. She whisked the eggs with a balloon whisk. He measured the ingredients using nested measuring cups. Nested means stacked inside each other, like smaller cups fitting into bigger ones. So, nested measuring cups are different-sized cups that fit together in one stack to save space. I chopped herbs with a mezzaluna knife. Mezzaluna knife means a half-moon-shaped knife used for chopping herbs easily. She used a baster to moisten the roast. Baster means a tool that sucks up and squirts juices onto food while cooking. And moisten means to make something a little wet. He opened the can with a manual can opener. I used a garlic press to crush the cloves. She drained the juice using a handheld strainer. Handheld strainer means a small tool with holes used to separate liquids from solids. He grated ginger on a ceramic grater. Grated means shredded food into small bits. I flipped the omelet with a fish spatula. Fish spatula means a thin, slotted spatula that's good for flipping delicate food like omelets or fish.
Kitchen appliances and utilities in context. I preheated the oven to 180 degrees Celsius before baking the cake. Preheating means heated the oven before cooking. She set the timer on the microwave for exactly 2 minutes. He adjusted the flame on the gas stove for slow simmering. Simmering means cooking food slowly with small bubbles. I brewed coffee using the French press on the countertop. Brewed means made a hot drink by soaking. And French press means a pot with a plunger used to make coffee. She turned on the exhaust fan to clear the smoke. Exhaust fan means a fan that pulls out smoke, steam, or smells from the kitchen. She used the blender on pulse mode to crush ice. Blender means a machine that mixes or crushes food. And pulse mode means quick on and off blending to control how much the food breaks. I reheated the curry using the induction cooktop. Reheated means warmed food that was already cooked. And induction cooktop means a smooth stove that heats pots using magnets and electricity. She froze the leftovers in the deep freezer. Deep freezer means a big deep freezer that keeps food frozen for a long time. He cleaned the juicer immediately after making juice. I refilled the water purifier for the next batch of tea. Water purifier means a machine or container that cleans water. She scrubbed the tile backsplash with a baking soda paste. Tile backsplash means the wall tiles behind the stove or sink. So, in simple terms, she cleaned the kitchen wall tiles by rubbing them with a thick mix of baking soda and water. He cleaned out the exhaust filter above the stove. Exhaust filter means a part that traps smoke and grease in the kitchen fan. She cleared out expired condiments from the fridge. Condiments means sauces, spices, or toppings for food. I degreased the kitchen hood with warm soapy water. Degreased means took away oily dirt. Kitchen hood means the fan above the stove that removes smoke and smells. She defrosted the freezer and dried it with a towel. Defrosted means let the ice melt and removed it.
He unclogged the kitchen sink using a plunger.
Unclogged means removed the blockage. Plunger means a rubber cup on a stick used to clear drains. So, in simple terms, he used a tool to push and clear the blocked water in the kitchen sink.
She disinfected the sponge holder and soap dispenser. Disinfected means cleaned something to remove bacteria and viruses. And soap dispenser means a container that holds and releases soap. Kitchen actions and chores in phrasal verbs. Chop up the veggies before the guests arrive means cut the vegetables into small pieces before the guests come. Boil down the sauce until it thickens means cook the sauce on low heat until it becomes thicker by losing water. Whip up a quick meal in under 15 minutes. Whip up means cook or prepare something quickly. Heat up the curry and serve with naan. Heat up means make food warm. Cool down the soup before refrigerating, or let the soup get cooler before putting it in the fridge. Fry up the leftover rice with eggs. Fry up means cook food in hot oil or butter. Set out the plates and silverware. Set out means place or arrange things. And silverware means forks, spoons, and knives. Clear away the dirty dishes after dinner. Clear away means take things away to clean up. Put away the clean pans in the cabinet. Put away means return something to its proper place. Wipe off the grease from the stove. In simple terms, clean the oily mess from the stove using a cloth.
Specialized tools and their verbs in phrases. She crushed the spices in a mortar and pestle until aromatic. Mortar and pestle means a bowl and club-shaped tool used to grind things, and aromatic means having a strong, pleasant smell. He sliced the cucumber paper thin using a mandolin slicer. Paper thin means very, very thin, like paper. Mandolin slicer means a tool that helps cut food into even, thin slices. I brushed the pie crust with egg wash using a pastry brush. Egg wash means a beaten egg, sometimes mixed with water or milk, brushed on food before baking. Pie crust means the outer layer of a pie, and pastry brush means a soft brush used to spread liquids on food. She vacuum sealed the marinated beef using a sous vide machine. Vacuum sealed means removing all the air and sealing the bag tightly. And sous vide machine means a tool that cooks food slowly in warm water while it's sealed in a bag. He torched the creme brulee with a kitchen torch for a golden crust. Torched means burned lightly with a flame. Kitchen torch means a small tool that makes a flame for cooking. And golden crust means a crisp, brown top layer. I checked the roast's doneness with a digital meat thermometer. Doneness means how cooked the meat is, rare, medium, well done. And digital meat thermometer means a tool that shows the meat's inside temperature on a screen. She spun the washed lettuce dry using a salad spinner. In circle terms, she dried the wet lettuce by spinning it in a special bowl. He scooped cookie dough with a spring-loaded cookie scoop. Scooped means took out a round portion, and spring-loaded cookie scoop means a tool with a handle that helps release the dough easily. I softened the butter using the microwave's defrost setting, or I made the butter soft by using the microwave's gentle heat option. She separated the egg yolks using an egg separator. I used an immersion blender directly in the pot for a creamy texture. Immersion blender means a handheld blender used directly in a bowl or pot. And creamy texture means smooth and soft feel in the mouth. She cut the pizza into even slices with a pizza wheel cutter. Means she used a round rolling blade to cut the pizza into equal pieces. He placed the dough in the bread maker and selected the whole wheat setting. In simple terms, he put the dough in a machine that makes bread and shows the setting for whole wheat bread. She poached the eggs gently in barely simmering water. Poached means cooked eggs without the shell and hot water. And barely simmering means water that's very close to boiling but only small bubbles form. He braised the lamb shanks in a flavorful broth for 3 hours. Braised means cooked meat slowly in a small amount of liquid. And lamb shanks means the lower part of a lamb's leg. I blanched the green beans before freezing them.
Blanched means cooked briefly in boiling water, then cooled fast before freezing. So in simple terms, I boiled the green beans for a short time, then cooled them quickly before freezing. She deglazed the pan with vegetable broth to lift the flavor. Deglaze means to pour liquid into a hot pan to loosen and mix the tasty, browned bits stuck on the bottom. And lift the flavor means make the dish taste richer. He proofed the dough in a warm oven with the light on. Proofed means letting dough rise by resting it in a warm place. So in simple terms, he let the dough rest and rise in a warm oven with the light on to keep it warm. She caramelized the onions slowly until golden and sweet. Means she cooked the onions slowly until they turned golden brown and tasted sweet. I clarified the butter by skimming off the milk solids. Clarified butter means pure butter fat without milk parts. And skimming off means taking away the solids floating on top. So in simple terms, I heated the butter and removed the solid bits to get clear butter fat. She smoked the cheese using a small stovetop smoker. Smoked means flavored food by exposing it to smoke, and stovetop smoker means a small device used on the stove to create smoke for cooking. He dehydrated the mango slices in a food dehydrator overnight. Dehydrated means took out moisture to preserve food. And food dehydrator means a machine that dries food by blowing warm air. I toasted the cumin seeds to release their aroma. Toasted means cooked lightly until fragrant or slightly brown. And aroma means a pleasant smell.
I infused the oil with rosemary and garlic for added depth. In simple terms, I gently heated the oil with rosemary and garlic to give it a stronger flavor. Baking specific vocabulary. I creamed the butter and sugar until it turned light. Creamed means beat together until smooth and fluffy. And light means the color became lighter and the texture softer. She let the cake cool on a wire rack. Wire rack means a metal stand that lets air flow around baked food. He used muffin liners before pouring the batter. Means he put paper cups into the muffin tray before adding the mix. I folded the chocolate chips gently into the dough. In simple terms, I carefully mixed the chocolate chips into the dough without stirring too hard. She brushed the pie crust with milk for a golden finish. Or she spread milk on the pie crust to help it turn golden brown when baked. He tested the cake with a toothpick for doneness. In simple terms, he poked the cake with a toothpick to see if it was fully baked. I piped the frosting onto the cupcakes in swirls. Means I squeezed the icing onto the cupcakes in spiral shapes using a piping bag. She let the cookies rest before transferring them. He used a springform pan for the cheesecake. Springform pan means a baking pan with a latch that lets the sides come off. I activated the yeast with warm water and sugar. In simple terms, I mixed the yeast with warm water and sugar to wake it up and make it start working. She blind baked the pie crust before filling. Means she baked the pie crust without filling it first, so it stays crisp. He chilled the dough to make it easier to handle. Chilled means cooled something down in the fridge. I dusted the top with powdered sugar before serving. She used parchment paper to prevent sticking. Parchment paper means heat-proof paper used for baking. He covered the batter with cling wrap and refrigerated it. I greased the loaf pan with butter and flour. Loaf pan means a deep rectangular pan used to bake bread. She sifted the flour to avoid lumps. In simple terms, she passed the flour through a fine mesh to make it smooth and clump-free. He made crisscross marks on the peanut butter cookies. Means he pressed the cookie dough with a fork to make a crisscross pattern before baking.
Kitchen safety equipment and actions. She kept a silicone mat near the stove to place hot pans. In simple terms, she kept a heat-proof, flexible mat by the stove to put hot pans on safely. He checked the gas knob twice before leaving the kitchen. Gas knob means the control that turns the gas stove on or off. He wore cut-resistant gloves while slicing vegetables. Cut-resistant gloves means gloves made to stop knives from hurting your hands. I always use a splatter guard when frying. Splatter guard means a mesh or screen placed over a pan to catch splashes. She placed a smoke detector near the kitchen ceiling. Smoke detector means a safety device that detects smoke and makes a loud sound. He kept all cleaning products away from the food area. I used a step stool to reach high shelves safely. Step stool means a small, short stool used to reach high places. She unplugged appliances when not in use, or she took the plugs out of the wall for machines she wasn't using. He taught the kids to stay out of the kitchen while cooking. I made sure the fire extinguisher wasn't expired. Fire extinguisher means a tool to put out fires. She used pot holders when removing lids from boiling pots. Pot holders means thick pads or cloths used to protect hands from heat. He avoided wearing loose sleeves while cooking. I tied my apron properly before starting to cook. Apron means a cloth worn over clothes to keep them clean while cooking. She mopped the wet floor immediately after washing dishes. He avoided overcrowding the sockets with kitchen gadgets. In simple terms, he didn't plug too many kitchen machines into one power outlet to stay safe. I installed child safety locks on lower cabinets. Means I put special locks on the lower cupboards to keep kids from opening them. He turned off the heat when oil started smoking. Means he switched off the stove when the oil got very hot and began to smoke. I kept a fire blanket near the stove. Fire blanket means a special thick cloth used to put out small fires. He reminded the kids not to touch the stove knobs. She used oven mitts to avoid burns while handling the baking tray. Oven mitts mean thick, heat-proof gloves for handling hot things. I turn the pan handles inward to prevent accidents. In simple terms, I push the pan handles toward the stove so no one would bump into them and get hurt. She cleaned the floor immediately after a spill to prevent slipping. Means she wiped the floor right away after something spilled to stop anyone from slipping.
Kitchen mishaps and issues. The blender lid flew off and sprayed smoothie everywhere. Flew off means came off quickly by accident. The oils splattered while frying and burned her hand. Means hot oil popped out of the pan during frying and hurt her hand. The sauce boiled over and crusted onto the stovetop. In simple terms, the sauce bubbled too much and spilled out of the pot, drying and sticking on the stove. The kitchen towel caught fire near the burner. The raw chicken juice leaked onto the vegetable drawer. The pasta stuck to the bottom of the pot and burned. The mixer overloaded and tripped the circuit breaker. In simple terms, the mixer used too much power and made the electricity shut off for safety. The cutting board kept slipping while chopping. The fridge smells bad even after deep cleaning. Deep cleaning means cleaning every part very thoroughly. Food safety and hygiene phrases. She used different cutting boards for raw meat and vegetables. He checked the internal temperature of the chicken must hit 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I washed all produce thoroughly before storing. Produce means fresh fruits and vegetables. She sanitized the counters with a bleach solution. She tied her hair back and wore gloves before handling dough. I never refreeze thawed meat. It can breed bacteria. Means I don't freeze meat again after it's been defrosted because it can grow harmful germs. She kept the seafood on crushed ice in a shallow tray. He disposed of expired yogurt to prevent food poisoning. In simple terms, he threw away old yogurt so no one would get sick from eating it. I always keep eggs and milk on the middle shelf of the fridge.
She allowed leftovers to cool before refrigerating to avoid condensation.
Means she let the leftover food cool down before putting it in the fridge to stop water from forming inside the container.